Making this video has been on my to-do list for way too long, but today I'm going to show you how to photograph the Zest shot. If you aren't as familiar with cocktail stuff, when we say Zest shot, that is referring to expressing citrus oil over the top of a cocktail. This is usually like the finishing touch for a lot of classic drinks like the old fashioned. It's when a bartender will take a strip of orange peel and then squeeze it over the top of the drink, and you'll just see a very light mist of oils burst out of the peel and land on the surface of the drink, giving it a really nice, fresh citrus aromatic. So keep in mind, this is different than just squeezing a lime wedge or lemon wedge over the top of a drink. Those are big droplets of actual citrus juice. This is capturing citrus oil. All the cool videos of it you're seeing are in slow motion and with perfect lighting, but when you're actually seeing it in real life, it's very quick. It's just a split second and just this quick burst of oil. It's usually not very dramatic looking. But that's what makes this type of photo so fun and exciting to do, because you're capturing this fleeting moment that most people don't even notice. It does take a bit of practice. You gotta have the right citrus, the right lighting, the right camera settings. So we're gonna go over all of that in today's video. Let's start by making sure you have a citrus peeler and plenty of citrus. Peelers, easy to find, inexpensive. I have a slightly nicer one that is just more durable, stands up to heavier use. If you wanna check that out, it'll be linked in the description. But you likely already have one in your kitchen already. Maybe use it for peeling potatoes. Then of course, you're gonna want plenty of citrus, because sometimes you have to try this shot over and over and over again until you get one you're really happy with, because not all citrus is going to be the same. Some of it's going to be a little drier, some of it's going to be juicier. It's kind of hard to tell when you're just at the store picking through all these piles of citrus of, you know, what will have the most oil in the skin. You don't really know until you get it home and you try this shot. I have a bunch of oranges here as well as some lemons. For whatever reason, when I'm doing this Zest shot thing, I tend to have better luck with lemons. I don't know if they just naturally have more oil in the skin of the fruit, but that's a tip for you. If you want it to be as easy as possible, you might want to just start with using lemons. And again, we're just going to be using the skin of the citrus or the zest for this photo, but make sure you don't waste anything. Save all the citrus and juice it and use it for cocktails later. All right, now let's talk setup for the photo as well as lighting and camera equipment. I am shooting in my garage studio, which is a bit of a cave. There is no natural light in here whatsoever, so it's all gonna be off-camera flash. And honestly, the best way to capture a Zest shot is using off-camera flash. That's really gonna be the easiest way to do it. Of course, it's only gonna be easy if you already know how to use off-camera flash. If you don't, definitely a bit of a learning curve there. I do have a drink photography e-course that walks through all kinds of lighting stuff in detail, including off-camera flash. So if you want to check that out, that'll also be linked in the description. I'm going to be using 2 studio strobes for this shot. You don't have to have big fancy strobes. Honestly, speed lights work really great for this shot. They have a really short flash duration, so you can freeze motion really easily. So if you have a speed light or 2, great way to start. Even though I'm using 2 flashes, you can do this with 1. You can also try doing this shot with natural light. I just feel like that's a bit harder, but if you have some really harsh, direct sunlight coming through a window, you might be able to pull this off. Here's how I have things set up though. I have a table in the middle of my garage. I shoot all kinds of different things on this cheap IKEA table. And then on top of it, I have a wood ERICKSON surface. This is just an easy way to make my photos look like they're shot on kind of a rustic tabletop. Then we have the cocktail we're shooting. We'll call it a Negroni because it's red. And I have it in a glass without ice, just so we don't have to worry about anything melting while I'm talking and explaining here. And then I'm keeping the styling pretty simple, which is pretty common for me. I just have a few bar tools around kind of framing the shot, and I'm gonna be shooting it down pretty low, kind of looking up at the cocktail. You get to see kind of the messy part of my garage, but I have my camera set over here on a tripod. It is a Sony a7R4 with a 100mm macro lens, and then I have the wireless trigger on top to fire the lights, as well as a wireless trigger for the shutter so that I can use a remote. You can see the lens in the lower left-hand corner, so I'm shooting at a slight angle to our subject, and then we'll actually have both of our lights to the right here. I turned on the modeling lamps for my strobes so you can see them more easily and where the light is placed. But what we're going for with this shot is a slightly moody look because, hey, it's me. A lot of my work is very kind of dark and moody, and that lends itself really well to shooting Zest shot images because you are capturing this really fine oil that is kind of hard to see with the naked eye. It really helps to have it against a dark background. So you can certainly get Zest shots with lighter backgrounds. I've seen it done, but it's a lot easier if you have a black or dark background, just so there's more natural contrast. So the name of the game here is really hard backlighting. That is the key to a good Zest shot, and that's why I mentioned if you want to try doing this with natural light, you're going to need really bright, direct light from the sun to pull this off. So for me, I'm using a strobe, so I have two. My key light here is in a big softbox, as you can see. That's going to just be illuminating the scene as well as my hands as I'm zesting the cocktail, if that's even the right term. And then the one that's going to be lighting up the spray or backlighting it is this second strobe back here, which I have with a snoot on it. So this light here is pointed directly at the back of my cocktail so that when I express the citrus peel over the top, it will backlight those oil droplets and hopefully make them stand out a lot more. If you only have one flash or one speed light, I recommend positioning it in the back like this to backlight your cocktail and the citrus oils. It is going to be a moody shot. Like I said, if you don't have another flash kind of illuminating the scene, then your fingers or hands or anything else in the shot is going to be kind of a dark silhouette. But honestly, that can look pretty cool too. Because this is a studio strobe, it has a modeling lamp, which is a continuous light. It's not as bright as the flash, but it at least helps you position your light so I can aim it right on the back of the drink. Here is what the image looks like just with what we have set up, as well as my exposure settings and lighting settings. Now, if you were to copy these exact settings, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to nail this shot. This is just what works with what I'm using and in my environment, so you'll have to adjust these settings based on where you're shooting. But here are a few things to keep in mind to help you capture a Zest shot. I recommend trying to close down your aperture as far as you can. I know we all like to open up our apertures and get that soft, blurry background, but when you are capturing a Zest shot, you can't necessarily control where all of those oils shoot out. So if you're shooting at a very wide open aperture, that means your focused area is going to be very thin, very shallow, which is why we get that soft depth of focus look. But that doesn't really work for this shot because then you're going to get some of these drops of oil that are out of focus because they go out of the focus area. Once again, getting this shot will just be a lot easier if you're using flash because you have all of this light allowing you to close down your aperture, giving you a broader focus area, which will just allow you to get all of those really small oil droplets in focus. Also, since neither of my lights are at full power, I have also set my camera to a 3-image burst. So once the timer is complete, it'll do 3 really quick photos. This won't work for everybody, especially if you have lights that are less powerful and can't recycle quite as quickly. But I've done this before with these lights and they should be able to keep up with my shutter. I'm gonna try an orange peel first, see how this works. Get a nice thick piece of orange there. Again, just the skin. I want to be careful not to touch this a whole lot. I just kind of hold on to the edges of the peel because otherwise the oil is just going to come off on your fingertips and not on the cocktail. So 10 seconds on my camera. I can count down with it in my head, and once it reaches 0 is when I squeeze the peel over the drink. And you want to have the skin of the peel facing outwards towards the cocktail, the white part facing you. So once I do that, then 3 quick shots, 3 quick light bursts, and I have 3 images to show for it. I'm gonna start my timer here. I have to squat down a little bit because I'm so tall. See how that looks. As you can see, I jumped the gun just by like a split second here. The first shot, there's no oil or anything coming out yet. This second shot though is a pretty good one. That's a pretty good Zest shot to me. Even the third one's kind of cool too. So that's where if you can do a 3-image burst, that gives you a little more leeway, but depends on your equipment, depends on your lighting. You don't have to do a burst every time you do a Zest shot, but just makes things a little easier. So that was honestly our first try, and I'm pretty happy with that second shot, but since we have everything set up, let's try a lemon for this and just see if there's any difference in the amount of zest or the amount of oil we get in the photo. Start the timer. I'm gonna stand back a little bit, make sure there's plenty of kind of black space behind the cocktail. Let's check that out. The lemon peel wasn't necessarily better or worse. I think I just got lucky with this batch of oranges because there's plenty of oil in the peels. Well, fam, that's pretty much the gist of it. Easy, right? So at least to give you a little recap of the things that will help you get a good Zest shot is to use off-camera flash if you can, to backlight the cocktail. If you don't know how to use flash, you will need a really harsh, direct light, but again, focusing on backlighting to really make that oil stand out. Second, make sure you have plenty of fresh citrus. I kind of lucked out on this batch and I didn't actually have to use a lot of my citrus, but oftentimes you go through a few different oranges or lemons before you get one that works. Third thing, it's helpful but not required to have a dark background, kind of like my black studio wall here. That just provides natural contrast, makes it easier for those little oil droplets to stand out in your photo. Number 4 is close down the aperture on your lens if you can. That just gives you a broader focus area so that you get more of the droplets in focus. And number 5 is to set your camera on a timer so you can count down with it and synchronize with the shutter so that you squeeze the peel right when your shutter clicks. And if you're able to do a 3-image burst, even better. If you need some more inspiration for capturing your own Zest shot, check out this hashtag challenge I started on Instagram called Hit Me With Your Zest Shot. If you go to that tag, you'll see images from photographers from all over the world. It's super cool, and a lot of them share behind the scenes as well. Similarly, if you capture a Zest shot that you're super excited about, post it on Instagram, tag me so I can check it out, either High Proof Preacher, Cocktail Camera, both. Would love to see your work. Same goes for if any of you need help. Maybe you feel like you've done all the right things, you're getting close, but you're just not quite nailing the shot. Hit me up in the comments of this video, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Always happy to help you out.